The CPU basically hovers around 24%. Steam Deck, fortunately, has a nice D-pad already built into it from the start. Hello and welcome to another NihongoGamer video. As you know, I finally got my Steam Deck and this device is amazing. I've only had it for a week now, but I've been trying out various games and there are so many games that I want to try out and I'm kind of trying them out at random. But one of the games I've been trying out really early on is Blazblue Cross Tag Battle. Now this game's not super popular right now, it's not like everyone is playing it, it's not a brand new game or anything, but it's one of the games that I really don't mind playing on a pad controller, probably because the input methods are a little bit simpler than a lot of the more complicated games, and so trying out BBTag seems like the natural thing to do since a D-pad is built into the Steam Deck anyway. Now I'm sure you have plenty of questions that you want answered, and I'm going to answer as many as I can given the short time that I've been testing this out, mostly things like frame rate, do controllers work, and are there any issues with the game. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Now the first thing you check with any game on Steam Deck is whether it boots up at all. There are a number of ways you can find out. Some of the games are verified on Steam Deck, but BBTag is not actually verified. It's got a little I mark, and that means that it's playable, but it will have some issues, especially because it's built for PC, and so they assume that you've got a keyboard built into it. So right from the get-go, the good news is that it does boot up, and generally speaking, there are no issues or anything that cause the game to randomly crash that I've noticed so far. There are a few times when you'll want to bring up the on-screen keyboard. All you have to do is hold down the Steam button and press X. But if the question is, does it boot up? Yes, it does. That's absolutely no problem. Let's move straight on to performance of the fighting game itself, and on Steam Deck, there are a large number of modes. You've got the main menu, you've got story mode, you've got training mode, tactics mode, versus mode, and you can play the game online, and I'm happy to report that pretty much everything ran at a smooth 60 frames per second at all times, so I didn't have any issues really in any of those modes. I tried story mode, sifted through that for a few minutes and that was fine. Training mode, didn't notice any weird glitches or lag spikes in there, which is impressive because even on my PS4, Street Fighter V has random lag spikes in training mode, which is frustrating. Tried learning a few combos in tactics mode and that was absolutely fine too. And then versus mode against the CPU, also absolutely fine. A smooth, locked 60 frames per second, didn't notice any lag whatsoever. But one thing that did concern me before getting my Steam Deck about BBTag was the fact that they changed the netcode in this game this year and made it better, but as a result, the better netcode needs more resources, needs a little bit more CPU headroom. It doesn't even run on things like Nintendo Switch. But since the Steam Deck is a PC, it's running PC games translated to Linux through Proton. It means the features that are available on the PC version are available here on Steam Deck. So I called up the NihongoGamer Discord, just said, does anyone want to try out this game with me online? And we tried it out in casual lobby. We also tried it in a private lobby, and absolutely no problems whatsoever. In fact, maybe it's just that I haven't played this game since the rollback netcode was actually released, but I feel like the rollback netcode is a little bit smoother than it was when the game first launched, when the rollback netcode first launched. Now, just so you know what kind of network environment I'm in, I'm playing on the Steam Deck handheld with a USB-C to USB-A adapter running into an Ethernet adapter, which is wired LAN network into my standard router. The Steam Deck itself was just running on battery power, wasn't plugged in or running at any sort of maximum performance modes or low latency modes or anything like that. Now you might be wondering whether this game runs well on Wi-Fi, and the answer to the question is, I don't know, and I'm not going to test it because don't play games on Wi-Fi, don't play fighting games on Wi-Fi, just plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. So that's it for performance. The game runs at a locked 60 FPS pretty much all the time, even when you're online with the rollback netcode, and I'm, to be honest, just really impressed and really happy about that. There's actually a performance view built into the Steam Deck, and it shows you so much information about what's going on with your Steam Deck, and you can see that the CPU basically hovers around 24%, between 20 and 26%, and the GPU hovers around 48 to about 55%, so nothing seems to be maxing out even when playing online with rollback netcode. Now if you look at the green line here, which is measuring the amount of time that passes in between each frame, you can see it is hovering somewhere between 16.67, which is the correct amount of time that should pass between each frame, and about 17.4, but you don't notice that at all in the game. And to be honest, that might actually be normal for all games to slightly hover in speed between frames, maybe when they're slowing down the game or speeding it up to match frame rates when you're in online matches or something. But I thought I'd just point it out in case anyone's interested to know, because they're seeing that green line hovering up and down. In gameplay, it feels perfectly locked and smooth, so no issues there. The next thing I want to cover is controllers. I tried out a few of my different controllers on the Steam Deck, because not everyone's going to be playing on D-pad all the time, and of course when you're playing in two-player, you're going to have at least one person playing on a controller that isn't the built-in controls. The first controller I want to talk about is the built-in controls, because Steam Deck, fortunately, has a nice D-pad already built into it from the start, so you don't need to buy any separate add-ons that click onto the controller just so you can play a game with a normal D-pad. The D-pad and buttons built into the Steam Deck worked really well for me. I like them. The only thing I'm not too keen on is the position. Because your thumb is further off to the left, it's not really the natural angle that it just protrudes out of your hand at a rested position. So when I'm playing handheld and I don't have armrests on my chair, I do find that I'm resting my elbows like on my waist, and as a result the Steam Deck weight is resting on my palms, and because it's resting on my palms, I kind of have to put my thumb further off to the left than I would like, and as a result of my thumb not really being in an ideal position, I feel like it's difficult to do all the normal motions that I would. But if you're not having the weight of the controller on your palms and you lean forward, or if you have the Steam Deck on a tabletop stand on your desk, then you can find a position where you take your palms off the device and then you've got your thumb coming in at a much more natural angle. And if you do it like that, you can play just as you normally would on a D-pad. Personally, I like the split D-pads like the PlayStation DualShock 4, which are a single piece of plastic, but they're split in the middle so that you don't accidentally rub over the neutral part when you go from down to up. So at first I found it a little difficult to go from down to neutral up, but that's just a case of getting used to it. It's not my favorite D-pad in the world, but it's also not problematic at all. It's just the position that I'm not too keen on. The next controller I tried is the limited edition Blazblue Cross Tag Battle Quanda drone, and it runs absolutely fine, but the first time I plugged it in, I was really worried because the screen started spinning around, the buttons were all mapped incorrectly, I couldn't find certain buttons on the controller at all, but it turns out that's because the controller was in PS4 mode. Now strangely, switching the controller to PS3 mode fixed everything and it was perfect after that. Now I don't know if that's because PS3 mode works better on the Steam Deck, or if it's because PS3 mode is also how you switch it to X input, which is probably the standard mode to ensure best compatibility with controllers in the Steam Deck anyway. I also tried the Snackbox Micro, which is an all-button controller, and I believe the PCB in the Micro is actually a variant of a Brook board which runs PS4 and Switch games, and I can tell you without changing any settings or anything, it worked perfectly straight out the box. Now many of you have probably seen the video where I made my own DIY controller using a Brook universal fighting board, so I thought it'd be good to try that out as well. When you plug it in, at first all the controls are haywire and sometimes you can't even find buttons that you're looking for. But just like the Quanda drone, if you set it into PS3 mode, which I assume is also putting it into X input mode or something, holding down the light punch when you plug it in, that will allow the Brook Universal PCB to run perfectly as expected. Now I was a little concerned that controllers without a PS3 mode might be in trouble, so I tried out my Hori Fighting Edge, which is a PS4, PS5 only stick, but it does have compatibility for PC. So plugging that in worked straight out the box, didn't have to change any settings at all, and presumably that's because it automatically switches to X input mode when you plug it in, as opposed to having to switch to PS3 mode to activate that. So regarding performance and controllers, everything is plain sailing. There are a couple issues I want to point out. When I played the opening movie from this game, it actually crashed as the movie finished. You only access this from gallery mode, it seems. I don't think that it actually has an attract mode on the menu screen, because I left it on the menu screen and the movie never played. So this is only when I played the movie from gallery mode. And the other issue I found was one time when I woke it up from suspend mode, because you can just press the button and put it in suspend instantly, and then when you press it, it basically almost instantly comes straight back on. There was one occasion when it woke up and the audio was playing at the wrong speed, and the only way to fix it was to reboot the game. So be aware if you're playing something like story mode or something that uses save data, that after you suspend the console, when you wake it up, there's no guarantee that the audio will be playing at the correct speed. Alright, it's time to wrap things up for BBTag here on the Steam Deck. I think it runs perfectly well, plus it's the PC version, so you have rollback netcode. This is the only way that I would want to play this game, never going back to delay netcode for BBTag, now that I can play it on my PC, or I can play it handheld on my Steam Deck. I'm really, really happy about that. And as a bonus, you also have built-in D-pad controls and shoulder buttons that work really well. And if you really wanted to, you could also use these back buttons. You've got 4 extra shortcut back buttons that you could set as macros or something. The issues with the opening movie crashing the game or the audio being a little weird after you wake it up from suspend are completely forgivable in my opinion. In all honesty, if you have this game already on Nintendo Switch and you don't play online, you probably don't need the Steam Deck version. If you've got the OLED version of the Nintendo Switch, then your screen is already pretty huge as well, so it's not like the Steam Deck is giving you a massively bigger screen or anything. But if you want to play the PC version with rollback netcode, I highly recommend the Steam Deck version because so much flexibility, plus the ability to use a whole range of controllers that don't work on the Nintendo Switch without an adapter. That being said, the Nintendo Switch does have a kickstand on the back, and the thing with the Steam Deck is that when you're playing against a friend or when you're just playing on a controller, so you're not holding the thing up, there's no way for it to actually stand up. It just sits on your desk like this, and if you put it up like this, it'll just fall back down because there's no kickstand on the back. So for the gameplay footage I've shown you today, I was using a cheap stand. I think this was like $10. You can just find this on any online retailer, and they all look the same from any brand that's basically like this. And the reason this stand actually works is because, as you can see, there's no USB-C port on the bottom of the Switch. I was going to say the Switch. On the bottom of the Steam Deck, the USB port is actually on the top, and that means that you can play with this all the way set to the base right here on your desk, and you don't need to worry about clearance for a cable coming out the base of the console. It all comes out this USB-C port at the top. One last thing is that these front-facing speakers on the Steam Deck are actually really impressive, and they fill the room with quite a lot of sound when it's turned up. Listen, that's all I've got time for today. Just want to show you various impressions that I have on the Steam Deck as and when I have them, because I'm really excited about trying all my games out on this brand new device. The reason I'm making this video is because I'm often that person which is searching for the one person on the entire internet who's made a single video about a specific game, and I just want to see footage of whether it's running properly or not. So if you're like me and you look for those very specific videos running certain games on certain devices, I hope this video was of use to you. I plan to make many more videos like this in the future, so if you want to check them out, please do subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you found out any other things that I maybe didn't notice about the game on Steam Deck in the comments section below, and clicking that like button will definitely make this video easier to find for people who are looking for this sort of thing. If you want to find more people who are interested in stuff that I cover on this channel, like Steam Deck, fighting game, Japan, anime, anything like that, be sure to join the NihongoGamer Discord. You can watch me streaming live on twitch.tv/NihongoGamer. That is 2 to 3 times a week. And finally, you can follow me also at NihongoGamer on Twitter. That's all for now. Can't wait to make more Steam Deck videos in the future. See you all in the next NihongoGamer video and or stream.